guys, I'm Steve Freeman, and welcome back to the Steve Freeman Podcast. Good to be back with you again for yet another episode. And matter of fact, today's episode is kicking off 12 episodes. That's right, it's a new series. It's going to be 12 episodes in a row, the 12-step program for musicians. This, I think, is going to be important. It's going to be key. There are going to be some things that you probably don't want to hear or that aren't going to be nice to hear, but I think they're things you need to hear. And I think if you follow this all the way through, all 12 episodes, I think you're going to have a new outlook, a new understanding about the music business. More importantly, kind of an introspective look at yourself. And I think you'll come out the other side with a different outlook on how to approach your career as an artist, as a songwriter, or as a producer. Before we jump into step one today, I do want to remind you, if you're listening to the podcast on any of the platforms that it's available, thank you so much. But if you're listening on Apple Podcast, I'm going to ask you to take one step further, just one, and subscribe to the podcast. That way, it's automatically downloaded to your playlist every time a new episode is uploaded on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. And if you don't mind, please click those 5 stars, leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, there's no reason to not subscribe to the YouTube channel. Come on, guys. In all seriousness, click that subscription button, hit the bell icon next to it so that you're notified every time I upload new content. And guys, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Nobody's going to bite. I mean, I'm not going to bite. I mean, I've seen other people in comment sections bite and have some pretty big teeth, but I'm not going to do it. And nobody's going to be mean to you. So feel free to leave a comment and leave a like on the video as well. If you'd like to join my weekly newsletter, The Revolution, it's absolutely free to do so. More tips, more tricks, more advice, and some personal stuff from me as it relates to music, business, and life. Like I said, it's absolutely free. You can sign up at my website, thestevefreeman.com. If you're not following me on social media, I'd love to have you a member of my little circle. You can find me at The Steve Freeman on every social media platform. All right, guys, let's dive right into it. Like I said, today is the first of 12 episodes, and there's 12 because we're doing a 12-step program for musicians. And today we're starting with step number 1. Now, you may be asking, Steve, why are you doing this? Why are you putting together a 12-step program for musicians? And I'm going to get real serious with you here for just a second. And I was sitting around the other day and I was thinking about my career. I was thinking about friends of mine and their career. I had a private conversation with a friend, an artist, a fairly successful artist, not too long ago. And I've been thinking about this ever since. And I've made this comment before in passing or when I've been speaking at a engagement or at a conference or something like that. I've made this comment and people always look at me funny when I say it. But it's the truth. The music business, entertainment, and as a matter of fact, the entertainment business overall is so much, very much like a drug. And it is extremely addictive. And like I said, I'm getting serious here for just a second. But I have seen people's pursuit of success, fame, fortune in the entertainment business, and primarily from my aspect in the music business, I've seen it cause the same detrimental effects that being addicted to gambling or addicted to drugs or addicted to alcohol or addicted to any, in all honesty, not that healthy for you activities. I've seen people lose everything. I've seen people lose their homes. I've seen people lose their families. I've seen people die. We see it all the time now. It's sad that we're losing so many artists so young in life. And guys, I'm going to tell you that the actual cause of it, yes, could be the drugs, the alcohol, and these other horrible things. But I think it goes deeper than that, and that's why I wanted to do this series. The music business is a drug. It's highly addictive. once you get a little taste of it, or once that seed is planted in you, and those of you that are artists that are out there listening or songwriters, you live, breathe, shower in, and want to be bathed and constantly cloaked in the music business, in your pursuit of trying to achieve your goals. Sometimes that's a good thing. I mean, one could say that, well, that's dedication. That's being dedicated to the process and being motivated and hustling and all that. And yes, that's true. But that's also not to say that there is not a huge downside to having that much extreme focus, because, guys, it is an addiction. I've seen people that have had it taken away, that it has ruined their life. And I've seen people get out of the business and go through withdrawals, and they ultimately come right back, just like a drug. So what I'm saying is that it is possible for your pursuit of your success in music or anything else, acting or building your business. It can have a negative side effect, but that's what these next 12 episodes are going to be about, the 12-step program for musicians. Now, I don't know anything about AA or NA or any of these other anonymouses. I've never done drugs in my entire life. I do not drink. I probably haven't had a drink of alcohol in 25 years. I'm not saying anything bad about anybody that does. There are people, I've heard the expression recreational users. I have a little bit of a problem, and I don't think that applies very much to the music business, because I don't know very many people that approach this business or their pursuit of success in this business in a very recreational way. Myself and pretty much everybody that I know is they're all in or they're all out. There is no recreational use of being an artist or being a creative. You know, that term alone, recreational, means you can do it at times and not do it at times, and it doesn't matter. I believe those of us that are actively engaged in this business and success in it, we're all in all the time. And excess in anything is never a good thing. So I don't know anything about Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know anything about this, but I do know the music business. I know the entertainment business. I know the pitfalls. I know the wrong roads. I know the climb. So I'm going to take that philosophy and apply it to you and me. And the first step in the 12 steps, the 12-step program for musicians, is much like any other 12-step program. It's admitting that you have a problem. And I'm going to expand on that, but I want to put a statement out there, and I want to make it very clear, and I hope this soaks in. The first step to having success in this business is admitting that you have a problem. We've talked in the past videos and episodes and podcasts about the importance of actually being able to identify the problem that you have, but more so that before you even get there, before you even get to the point of admitting that you have a problem, identifying your problem, you've got to admit that you do have a problem. Now, is wanting to be successful in the music business a problem? No, that by itself is not a problem unless you take it to excess, unless you let it ruin and rule your life and guide and determine every decision that you make. You should give nothing that kind of power over your life. I've done it. Believe me, you don't want to do it. I'd still do it from time to time. So I'm following this 12-step program as much as I'm encouraging you guys to follow the 12-step program. But I'm going to go beyond admitting that you have a problem. And I'm going to expand on it to include this. And I think this is such a huge problem for most artists, producers, people in the music business that I've worked with or that I encounter or that DM me or email me asking questions, especially during my one-on-one sessions, coaching and mentoring sessions. Step number one for musicians, yes, admit that you have a problem. But I think beyond that, it is okay. It is healthy to admit that you don't know what you're doing and that you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I'm going to say this, and this could be true about me. It could be true about so many other people out there, so many other sources of information. I think because you guys do so much research and you watch so many YouTube videos and you bought this course and you bought that course and you're doing this, you went to this songwriter camp, you keep coming back and forth to Nashville and meeting these people and meeting these people. I think that sometimes you trick yourself into thinking and believing that you know what you're doing and you have an understanding of the business, when really you ultimately don't. It's funny how we are as humans. We like to take pieces and parts of things that we're comfortable with and that make us feel good, and we use those little bits of information to convince ourselves that we're heading in the right direction and we know exactly what it is that we're doing, because we're in the flow every day. You think if you go jump in the pool every day, you're going to get wet. Maybe jumping in a pool will get you wet, but in the music business, that's not necessarily how it works. So step one, admit that you don't really know what you're doing. And I'm going to give you a broad example of what I'm talking about. When I do my coaching and mentoring sessions one-on-one with artists and producers, even sometimes managers, record labels, and publishing companies, it's always funny, out of the total 2-hour call, 99% of the time, they spend the first hour of that call trying to convince me that they already know what they're doing. They're doing this, we're doing this, we did this over here, we released this single, we did this video, we're getting ready to do another one, or we signed this writer, we signed this artist, and they go on for the better part of an hour basically telling me why they don't need to be on the call. And it always inevitably circles back. And I just sit there and listen, because I believe that's my job as a good teacher, as a good educator, as a good guide for you through this process, is to listen. Because I can't give you good advice. I can't give you generic advice, right? I can put some of the exits out there and say it's okay to take that one, but avoid that one. But what's most important for me is to listen to you, to know where you are exactly. Where are you on that GPS, so that I can find your location and I can go, I know why you're here. I know why you're having problems. So the first part of my one-on-one calls is listening to them tell me they know everything and they're on the right path and we know what we're doing. And then it comes down and I just sit there and I listen, because I think for me, that's the most important thing to do. Now, as I'm listening, I'm thinking in my head, the first problem that you've got and why you're actually on this call with me, why you're not succeeding and why you're not seeing forward progress and movement, even if it's slow, is because you get up every day operating under the assumption that you think you're doing the right thing. You think you're headed in the right direction. You've convinced yourself that because it's the path you chose, that it's the right one. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm going, okay, you think you're doing that right, but you're going in the opposite direction to accomplish the overall goal. And then when they get done, I sit there for a second and I'm like, okay, are you ready for me to do what we got on this call to do? And then I tell them, you have convinced yourself that because you chose this path, that you're on the right path. If I'm going to help you and we're going to take this thing and move it forward, the first thing we have to do is turn it around, because you're heading in the wrong direction. I know where this comes from. People think that if they admit they don't know what they're doing or they don't know all of the information, that it makes them look weak. And none of us want to appear weak. That whole old saying, never let them see you sweat. Well, that's never more true than in the entertainment business. We've talked about this in the past, because this business is built on perception. None of it has to do with reality. Progress and success tends to come because of perception over reality. So we're afraid that we look weak when we admit that we don't know what we're doing and we don't have the correct information. We listen to the wrong sources. We listen to the wrong people. We surround ourselves with the wrong people. I have done it many times over my career. And in all honesty, I'm just as guilty of it as you are, but that's why about 5-6 years ago, I completely changed the way that I do business. I eliminated from my life almost everybody that was in my circle because I realized it wasn't me holding me back. It was me placing faith and trust and basically letting the people that I had around me drive the car. And I reached a point where it's like, Steve, you know what you're doing. Why are you allowing all these other people to drive? Why are you in the driver's seat? And I changed everything, and it changed everything for me. When I got behind the wheel and I started driving and I could feel that wheel in my hands and I had my hand on the gear shift and my foot on the pedal, I got to determine how fast I went. I got to determine when I put the brake on, when I stopped for gas. I was the one in control. But it first took me looking at myself, looking in the mirror and saying, you're doing the wrong thing. And maybe you're doing the wrong thing because you're not comfortable with the decision and the fact of admitting to yourself that maybe you're doing the wrong thing and you don't know exactly what it is that you're doing. So you've gone out and you've surrounded yourself with all these other people. Now, look, the same thing could be said with getting on YouTube and listening to all these other people. I've talked about this in the past. It amazes me the number of people that listen to some of these other people on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook that have absolutely no success story to point to, but yet you soak up every bit of their information. Now, look, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I may not be that guy for you. My method may not work for you. I may not be the best source of information for you and where you are in your career. I like to think that I am, but I may not be. I may not be your cup of tea. But that doesn't mean that since I'm not, that this person or this company is. You've got to first understand and admit to yourself that you don't know everything. You don't really know what you're doing. Because if you knew what you were doing and you were comfortable with the information you were receiving, you would be putting that into action. And when you put something into action, by definition, it automatically means forward movement. It means progress. And we've talked before about how sometimes that progress can be slow. That process can take time. It's going to take time. One of the main reasons that it takes time if you're doing it the right way is you should be seeking out education, seeking out information, involving yourself with other people that are on the same path as you. We've talked before about the importance of the rule of thirds. Spending a third of your time with people that are below you in your journey. And again, I'm not saying like below you, beneath you, not as good as you. They're just not as far along on the path as you are, but they're on the same path. Then spending a third of your time with people that are on your same level, that are exactly where you are, that are in the car right next to you. And then spending a third of your time with people who are already and have already achieved and gotten to the destination where you want to go. Because it's those people that have been there and know the road. That's where I consider myself. And I hope that you consider spending this time with me on the podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as a part of that, is from getting where you are, maybe just starting out a quarter way, a halfway through to your destination, as seeing me helping you get the rest of the way there. But like I said, I may not be the right person for you. You may not like me. Trust me, I'm not the most liked guy in Nashville. Matter of fact, I'm probably not in the top 2,000. But I'll tell you why. It's because of the decisions that I made 5, 6, 7 years ago to not play the political game. I admitted to myself that I had a problem, and my problem was trying to fit in too much, was trying to be too much a part of that inner circle and giving too much. You can give too much. I gave too much. I took too little, and I just gave away the farm. I gave away myself because I didn't know what I was doing. I thought that was the way because I saw all of these people around me having so much success because they were giving themselves away. They were giving it all away. They were doing whatever they had to do. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to take the beaten path. I'm going to do it easy for once, and I'm going to get in that inner circle. Then I realized when I got there that place didn't make me feel really good about me. So I had to apply step one to my own life and my own career and admit that I had a problem, admit that I didn't know what I was doing. That was unfamiliar territory to me. I've never been a follower. I've never been a yes man. I've always had the independent spirit. I've always wanted to do things my way, whether it was right or whether it was wrong. And believe me, it was wrong a lot of times. And it was hard. And maybe that's why in all of these different AA and all these different recovery programs, maybe that's why admitting that you have a problem is the first step, because most of the time, the first step is the absolute hardest step to take. Mainly because when you get ready to take that first step, the admitting that you don't know what you're doing and admitting that you have a problem is like holding up a mirror and telling yourself that you've wasted your time. That wherever you started and the journey to get wherever you are today, that was completely wasted. It wasn't. It may feel like that in the process of taking that initial first step. It may feel that, but I'm going to tell you, every minute, every hour, every week, every month, every year that you spent from starting to getting to the point where you're ready to take that first step of admitting you don't know what you're doing and you're heading in the wrong direction. Whatever it took to get you to that first step is what took you to stop the car and realize you need to turn around. That has value. We're all growing in this business. Whether you see forward progress or not, every day gone by is another day of growth. It's another opportunity for growth. And sometimes the biggest step in growth comes when you realize that you've been taking the wrong steps and you've been moving backwards. Because you can't turn around until you realize you're going in the wrong direction. And maybe that's why step one is so hard, to admit that you've got a problem. Admit that you don't know what you're doing, and admit that you're heading in the wrong direction. I want to see all of you heading in the right direction. And like I said, through the podcast, through the videos on YouTube, through the one-on-one coaching mentoring sessions, I like to think that my job is to get your car headed in the right direction. That's what I want. But before I can help you, you've got to realize that I'm not just another source of information. Neither is anybody else. You've got to find the source of information and education and mentor and coach that is right for you and your process. If you're heading in the wrong direction, it's time to turn the car around, and it's time to take the first step in the 12-step program for artists and musicians. And that step is to admit you don't know what you're doing. I know it's hard, guys. Believe me, I've been there. I've done it. I had to do it. I know that it's difficult and it's not easy, but I promise if you will do this, if you will take this first step and admit that you really have no clue what you're doing, that's when you open yourself up to new possibilities, new avenues, a new way of thinking, a new way to move forward. So this is the first step. Admit you don't know what you're doing. Admit that you don't know everything. And in a society where we are basically a bunch of know-it-alls, it's hard to do. But guys, if we were sitting here talking about how to fix your radiator in your car, I'm not the guy you would want to listen to because I have no idea how to do it. But we are talking about the music business, and this is what I've dedicated my life to. I've told you in the past that I know what I know, and I've had the successes that I've had because I've been down every wrong road. I've made every mistake in the business. I've spent every wrong dollar. I've signed every wrong artist, every wrong writer. I've done everything wrong. But it took me doing all of those things the wrong way to learn how to do them the right way. And more importantly for me, fulfill what I think is becoming my destiny. And that is to possibly show you the right way for you. But it all starts with step one. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast, the first in a 12-part series, the 12-step program for musicians. Guys, if you're listening on Apple Podcast or radio.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, because we're available everywhere, make sure that you subscribe so that it's uploaded. Every episode, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is automatically put right there safely and securely in your playlist. You don't have to go searching for it or wait for me to post a link. It's just automatically right there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please subscribe and go one step further. Leave us a 5-star review. And just, if I could be so humble to ask, please write a written review, even if it's just 1 or 2 sentences. We're moving up the rankings, and Apple and iTunes their algorithm loves comments. So if you'd leave a comment, I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're enjoying the video version of the podcast, you're watching the videos on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel for the same damn reason, so that you're notified every time I upload new content. Make sure you follow the new YouTube notification policy, that you are clicking on the bell and selecting that you want to be notified. It's no longer just as easy as clicking the bell. If you're not following me on social media, do it right now. I mean, get out your phone and pull it up. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. Snapchat, although I haven't posted anything on Snapchat in a long time. It's at the Steve Freeman. Guys, I look forward to the next episode, which will be step 2 to the 12-step program for musicians. Until then, guys, keep being creative, keep pressing the boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you in the next one.